Hello and welcome. My name's Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. Today we're going to talk about making sublimation pencils. So these are sublimation mechanical pencils and we're going to sublimate the barrel. We're going to use a sublimation oven, but we are not going to use shrink wrap. So what method am I going to use? How did I get these fabulous results? We are going to take a look at that. So first of all, let's take a look at the supplies we're going to use. So you're going to need your sublimation blanks. So this is a sublimation pencil that has a sublimation coating on the barrel. The version that I'm going to use is from Makerflow, and I will link to that in the description below this video. You're going to need heat tape, heat resistant gloves, and your sublimation print. Now this is just sublimation ink printed on sublimation paper with a sublimation printer. And I'm going to show you how to trim this to size so it will fit the barrel, so there's no need to use any type of template or anything like that to size your image. And then I'm going to use a paper cutter for that. So we are going to use a sublimation oven with this. However, I'm going to do a new technique with this one that does not use shrink wrap and see what kind of results we get. First, let's take a closer look at these sublimation pencils. First of all, the packaging comes open. You don't have to rip it or anything, so that when you're done sublimating these, you could put it back together to sell them. I love that. And it does come with tons of extras, lead, erasers, things like that. The pencil itself, we're gonna take it apart. So we're gonna unscrew this bottom portion. And once we remove that, the barrel just pulls off. Now this is a single piece, but we don't sublimate on this. I am gonna put the tip back on here just so I don't lose it. And this is the portion that you want to sublimate on. So this is the sublimatable portion of this and has a sublimation coating. I'm just gonna use a paper trimmer to get the right size. The very first thing I'm gonna do is to trim off any white area, basically the margins of your print. And you do want to trim these straight if possible. You may notice this is like a scrap from another project, so it does have some edges that aren't straight. That is fine. So I went ahead and trimmed 2 edges, and now I need to get the length. And I do like to go just slightly over for length. And all I'm going to do is just to use a pencil to mark slightly over the length that I need. Then we'll just put this paper in here, lining up that mark, and go ahead and trim the paper. So now I have a paper that is the correct length and just slightly over on both sides. Now I do want to trim it this way as well. So what I'm going to do is roll this up, and again I want to go slightly over. So if I roll it up and then just slightly over that, and mark my paper, then unroll, and again cut where I've marked, and then test this first one out. And I just want a slight overlap, which I'm getting. And now I can make as many as I would like to this same size. So I'll go ahead and cut a few of these. I'm gonna make a few of the pencils. So I went ahead and cut 4 of these, the same size, all ready to sublimate. So now let's take a look at how we add one of these to this barrel. First of all, you do want the barrel to be clean. I like to take it and just sort of roll it on the lint roller just to make sure there's nothing on the barrel itself. For this, I'm using a fairly thin roll of heat resistant tape. First thing I'm gonna do, flip this over to the back, and along one of the edges, add a piece of heat resistant tape just along the edge. Then press that down and trim any excess on the ends. And also trim all along this edge just slightly, just barely trim, just to make sure you have any excess and you got rid of it. Now I'm gonna wrap this barrel. First of all, make sure your tape has been started. Tape in a tape dispenser doesn't work well for this method, so you wanna make sure the tape is started before your hands get occupied. Then we're gonna start with the end that has the tape. And you wanna get this as straight as possible and roll this up as tight as you can possibly roll it. This end should go over the top of the tape. You just tuck your tape down in there, and make sure everything's pulled tight, especially in the center. Then add your tape right to that center portion first. Then we're gonna pull the tape and wrap it around the barrel just as tight as you can get it, all the way from the center all the way out to the edge. So just keep pulling and wrapping that tape. You may want to go maybe a turn or two more at the end just to have some excess tape. Then just cut it off with some scissors. And we're going to press this down really, really well all along through here. Now I finished this side, we're going to repeat on this other side. So I'm going to start in the center and pull and wrap all the way to the end of my barrel. Now, what does this tape do? This tape is providing the pressure for your sublimation. So we're going to use the oven as the heat source, but we also need pressure to complete the sublimation process. And this tape is going to provide that pressure. And it may take you a while to get the hang of this, and leaving some extra on the ends will help you unwrap it later. So now everything looks good. Everything's pushed down well. I'm gonna repeat and wrap a few more barrels before we add them to our sublimation oven. Add the wrapped barrels to your sublimation oven and heat. It's 375 degrees for 4 minutes. Once that time is up, remove the pencil barrels from the sublimation oven and add to a heat resistant mat. So I just put mine on a heat resistant mat to cool. Now, because we left a little tail at the end, these should be extremely easy to unwrap. So you would unwrap one side, repeat on the opposite side, and again, I left a tail on both sides. So this makes it very easy to unwrap these once the sublimation is complete. So just unwrap the tape and then peel back that sublimation print, and this result is gorgeous. So I'm gonna unwrap the rest and then we'll take a look at assembly on these. The results on these look great. If some of them have just like a residue on them, you can just wipe that off with a damp cloth. So that's often like the paper, depending on the brand of paper, I feel like it sticks a little bit, but that just cleans right off, and these are ready to go. So I'm just gonna clean each of them just to make sure none of that residue is on there. They are bright and vibrant all the way down the barrel in all cases. So there isn't any ghosting, even though I did not use shrink wrap. I feel like this method is way easier than the shrink wrap method. So you just assemble these the same way you've disassembled them. So remove that end, slide the barrel into place, and then replace the end piece. Now, if you are going to sell these, you can also just pop them back into the packaging, put the back on, and you have packaging as well for your sublimation pencil, and you can sell kits with these. If you're just going to use them, of course, you can use all of the pieces in the kit itself. So I must say, I've made sublimation pens in the past and used a shrink wrap on them. These were so much easier. It's not that the shrink wrap was hard to get on those pens that I made in a previous video. It was getting this shrink wrap off that was the issue. If you did not do it extremely hot, it was just so hard to remove, and these barrels cool down so fast because the metal is so thin. So this is a much better experience and a much better method. Also, the pencils and as well as the sublimation pens from MakerFlow are extremely easy to disassemble and assemble back, which I love. And you can also get barrels all by themselves, so you could just replace the barrel on this. So if you wanted pens for the season, pencils for the season, you could do that with their product as well. And of course, you have these super cute packaging if you're selling them. So I will link to everything that I used in the description below this video. So head there, grab your supplies, and make some sublimation pencils of your very own. Now, if you have any questions, drop down in the comment section, ask away. If you like this video and it helped you, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, head on over to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. I have videos just like this one every single week. And trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.